A waitress spilled coffee on the wrong man and started a war that would burn his empire to ashes. Some mistakes are small. A wrong turn. A forgotten name. But Lena's mistake? It wasn't small. And the man sitting in booth 7 wasn't the forgiving type. What started as spilled coffee became something much darker, a battle between a ruthless mafia boss and a woman who refused to kneel. This is a story about power, pride, and the dangerous line between revenge and obsession. Stay until the end, because what Lena discovers will change everything. The diner smelled like burnt bacon and cheap disinfectant. Lena Martinez wiped down the counter for the 3rd time that hour, her hands moving on autopilot. 7 years she'd worked at Rose's Diner. 7 years of double shifts, rude customers, and tips that barely covered rent. But she never complained. Not out loud, anyway. The bell above the door chimed. Lena glanced up. 3 men walked in. They didn't belong here. Not with those tailored suits. Not with that cold, measured silence that followed them like a shadow. The one in the middle caught her attention immediately. Tall, dark hair slicked back, eyes like black ice. He moved with the kind of confidence that didn't ask for space. It demanded it. Booth 7, he said without looking at her. His voice was smooth, controlled, dangerous. Lena grabbed 3 menus and led them to the back corner booth. The man in the middle slid in first, his companions flanking him like sentries. She set the menus down. Coffee? She asked. Black, he said. Still hadn't looked at her. She nodded and headed back to the counter. Her coworker, Rita, leaned in close. You see those guys? Rita whispered. That's Dante Moretti. Lena frowned. Who? Rita's eyes went wide. You serious? He owns half this city. Real estate. Clubs. Probably other stuff we don't want to know about. Lena felt a chill crawl up her spine. She'd heard whispers. Stories about men who made people disappear. Men you didn't cross. She poured the coffee carefully, steadying her hands. Just serve him. Don't make eye contact. Get through the shift. But as she approached booth 7, her shoe caught on something. A wet patch on the floor, probably from the busboy's mop. Her ankle twisted. The tray tilted. And the scalding coffee splashed directly onto Dante Moretti's lap. For one frozen second, the entire diner went silent. Dante stood slowly. Coffee dripped from his expensive suit pants. His jaw tightened. His men reached inside their jackets, but he raised one hand. They stopped. I'm so sorry, Lena stammered, grabbing napkins. It was an accident, Look at me. His voice was quiet, but it cut through her panic like a blade. She looked up. His eyes were colder than she'd imagined. Not angry. Worse. Calculating. What's your name? He asked. Lena. Lena. He said it slowly, like he was memorizing it. Do you know who I am? She nodded, throat dry. Then you know, he continued, stepping closer, that accidents have consequences. Her heart hammered. Please. I'll pay for the dry cleaning. I'll. Dry cleaning. He smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. You think this is about dry cleaning? One of his men leaned in, whispering something. Dante's gaze never left Lena's face. Finally, he stepped back. You're lucky I'm in a good mood, he said. Then he turned to his men. We are leaving. They walked out without another word. Lena stood there, trembling, napkins still clutched in her fists. Rita rushed over. Oh my God. Are you okay? Lena nodded numbly. But deep down, she knew. This wasn't over. Lena didn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Dante Moretti's face. That cold smile. Those calculating eyes. The way he'd said her name like he was filing it away for later use. She told herself she was overreacting. He was a busy man. Powerful men didn't waste time on waitresses who spilled coffee. Right. But the knot in her stomach wouldn't loosen. The next morning, she dragged herself to the diner early. The routine would help. It always did. Work. Keep moving. Don't think. Rita was already there, brewing the first pot of coffee. You look terrible, Rita said. Thanks, Lena muttered, tying her apron. I'm serious. You didn't sleep, did you? Lena shrugged. I'm fine. She wasn't fine, but admitting fear felt like giving it power. The morning shift crawled by. Regulars came and went. Truckers. Nurses from the hospital down the street. A couple arguing about their mortgage. Normal. Predictable. Safe. Then, around 11, the bell chimed. A man walked in. Not Dante. Someone younger. Sharper suit. Slicked back blonde hair. He scanned the diner like he was looking for something specific. His eyes landed on Lena. He walked straight to the counter and sat down. Smiled. It was the kind of smile that made her skin crawl. Lena Martinez? He asked. Her blood went cold. Who's asking? A friend of Mr. Moretti. He slid a small envelope across the counter. He wanted me to deliver this personally. Lena stared at the envelope like it might bite her. What is it? Open it and find out. The man stood. Have a good day, Miss Martinez. He left as quickly as he'd arrived. Rita appeared at her shoulder. What the hell was that? Lena's hand shook as she picked up the envelope. It was expensive. Heavy paper. Her name written in elegant script across the front. She tore it open. Inside was a single card. Handwritten. Accidents require apologies. Tonight. 8 p.m. Voluto. Come alone. Below the message was an address. And at the bottom, a single initial. D. No, Lena whispered. No way. Rita grabbed the card. Read it. Her face went pale. Voluto. That's his restaurant. Lena, you can't go. I'm not planning to. Good. Because men like him, they don't invite people to dinner. They summon them. And if you ignore a summons. Rita didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. Lena crumpled the card in her fist. I spilled coffee. That's it. I'm not going to. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her swipe. Hello. Miss Martinez. The voice was smooth. Familiar. Dante Moretti. I assume you received my invitation. Her breath caught. How did you get my number? I get everything I want, he said simply. 8 p.m. Don't be late. I'm not coming. Silence. Then, a low chuckle. You think you have a choice? I don't owe you anything. No. His tone shifted. Colder. Let me be clear. You have two options. Show up tonight and we talk. Or don't show up, and I'll come to you. And trust me, Lena, you don't want me showing up at your apartment. Or your mother's house on Maple Street. What's her name again? Rosa. Lena's heart stopped. You leave my mother out of this. Then be at Voluto. 8 p.m. Alone. The line went dead. Lena stood frozen, phone still pressed to her ear. Rita was saying something, but the words sounded distant. Muffled. He knew where she lived. He knew about her mother. This wasn't a game. This was a trap. And she'd already walked into it the moment she spilled that coffee. Rita grabbed her shoulders. Lena. What did he say? Lena looked at her friend. Saw the fear in her eyes. The same fear she felt twisting in her gut. He wants me there tonight, Lena whispered. And if I don't go. She didn't finish. She didn't have to. Lena stood outside Voluto at exactly 7:58 p.m. The restaurant looked like it belonged in a different city. A different world. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Soft golden lights spilling onto the sidewalk. A doorman in a crisp uniform who nodded at her like he'd been expecting her. Because he had been. She wore the only decent dress she owned, a simple black one she'd bought for her cousin's funeral 3 years ago. It felt wrong. All of this felt wrong. But she'd called her mother earlier. Told her to stay inside. Lock the doors. Don't answer for anyone. Rosa had asked questions. Lena had lied. The doorman opened the heavy glass door. Miss Martinez. Right this way. Inside, the restaurant was nearly empty. A few couples at distant tables. Soft piano music floating through the air. Everything polished. Perfect. Expensive. A hostess appeared. Young. Beautiful. Cold smile. Mr. Moretti is waiting. Lena followed her through the main dining room, past the bar, to a private section in the back, a separate room with only one table. And there he Saturday. Dante Moretti looked different without the coffee stains. His suit was charcoal grey, perfectly tailored. A glass of wine sat in front of him, untouched. He was reading something on his phone, but he set it down the moment she entered. He stood, a gentleman's gesture that felt like mockery. Lena, you're punctual. I appreciate that. She didn't sit. What do you want? He gestured to the chair across from him. Sit. Please. I'd rather stand. His smile was thin. I insist. It wasn't a request. She Saturday. Dante returned to his chair, studying her with those unreadable black eyes. A waiter appeared from nowhere, poured water into her glass, then vanished like smoke. You're afraid, Dante said. Not a question. You threatened my mother. I stated a fact. There's a difference. He leaned back. But let's not pretend you came here out of obligation. You came because you're smart. You know how this city works. I came because you didn't give me a choice. Everyone has choices, Lena. He swirled the wine in his glass. You chose to work at that diner. You chose to walk toward my table with a full tray. You chose not to be more careful. Her jaw tightened. It was an accident. And accidents, he said softly, require restitution. I already apologized. Words are cheap. Lena's hands balled into fists under the table. Then what do you want? Money. I don't have any. But I'll work. I'll pay you back however long it takes. Dante laughed. Actually laughed. It was a low, genuine sound that made her hate him even more. You think I care about money? He set down his glass. Lena, do you know what I do? I've heard rumors. Rumors are usually watered-down versions of the truth. He leaned forward. I control this city's underworld. Real estate. Gambling. Protection. Information. When someone crosses me, even accidentally, it sends a message. It says I'm soft. Forgiving. Weak. So this is about ego. His eyes darkened. This is about respect. Respect. Lena's voice rose. You want respect because I spilled coffee on you. I want respect because if I let a waitress humiliate me in public and walk away, every two-bit gangster in this city will think they can do the same. He paused. Or worse. Silence settled between them. Heavy. Suffocating. Lena's heart pounded. So what? You're going to kill me? Make an example. Dante tilted his head. If I wanted you dead, you wouldn't have made it to this restaurant. Then what? He reached into his jacket. Lena flinched, but he only pulled out a folded piece of paper. He slid it across the table. Open it. She did. It was a contract. Legal language she barely understood. But certain phrases jumped out. Employment agreement. Duration, 6 months. Compensation, housing, meals, security. She looked up. What is this? A job offer. A job. You'll work for me. 6 months. You'll live in one of my properties. You'll be available when I need you. And in return, your mother stays safe. Your debts get paid. You get a fresh start. Lena's stomach turned. You want me to work for you? Doing what? Whatever I need. That's not an answer. Dante's expression didn't change. It's the only answer you're going to get. She threw the paper back at him. No, absolutely not. Then we are done here. He stood, buttoned his jacket. Your mother's address is 447, Maple Street, correct? Pretty garden. Yellow mailbox. Lena shot to her feet. Don't you dare. Sign the contract, Lena, or I'll make sure she understands exactly what kind of trouble her daughter brought to her doorstep. Tears stung her eyes. Rage, fear, helplessness. They all blurred together. You're a monster, she whispered. Dante picked up the contract, held it out to her. 6 months, he said. Then you're free. You have my word. Your word means nothing. It's all you have. Lena stared at the paper. at the man holding it, at the trap closing around her. She thought of her mother. Alone. Vulnerable. She thought of the diner. Her life. Everything she'd worked for. And then she thought of what would happen if she walked away. Her hand shook as she took the contract. Where do I sign? Lena signed the contract with a pen that probably cost more than her monthly rent. Dante watched her, expressionless, as she scrawled her name at the bottom. The moment she finished, he took the paper, folded it carefully, and tucked it back into his jacket. Smart choice, he said. I didn't have a choice. Everyone keeps saying that. He gestured toward the door. Marco will take you home. Pack what you need. Tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., he'll pick you up. 6 a.m. I need to give notice at the diner. I need to. You don't work there anymore. His tone was final. I'll have someone handle it. Your last paycheck will be delivered. Consider it a courtesy. Lena wanted to scream, to throw the water glass at his perfect face. But she just stood there, numb. What about my mother? She'll be protected. Discreetly. She won't even know. Dante moved toward the door, then paused. One more thing. You don't tell anyone about this arrangement. Not your mother. Not your friends. No one. And if I do? He looked back at her. Then the protection stops. He left without another word. Marco, the blonde man from the diner, drove her home in a black Mercedes that smelled like leather and expensive cologne. He didn't speak. Didn't even look at her. Just drove. Lena stared out the window, watching her neighborhood blur past. The familiar streets felt foreign now, like she was already gone. When they pulled up to her building, Marco finally spoke. 6 a.m. Don't be late. She got out without responding. Her apartment felt smaller than usual. The walls seemed to close in as she pulled out her old duffel bag and started packing. Clothes. Toiletries. A photo of her and her mother at the beach when Lena was 10. She sat on the edge of her bed, holding the photo. What had she done? 6 months. That's what he'd said. 6 months and she'd be free. But men like Dante Moretti didn't let people go. She'd heard enough stories. Once you were in, you were in. Her phone buzzed. Rita. You okay? You left early. Call me. Lena typed out a reply 3 times. Deleted it 3 times. Finally settled on. I'm fine. Taking some personal time. I'll explain later. She wouldn't explain later. She couldn't. Sleep didn't come. She lay in bed, watching the ceiling, listening to the sounds of the city outside her window. Sirens. Car horns. Distant music. Normal sounds. A normal night. Except nothing was normal anymore. At 5:45 a.m., Lena stood outside her building with her duffel bag and a sick feeling in her stomach. Marco pulled up at exactly 6. He loaded her bag into the trunk without a word. She climbed into the back seat. The door closed with an expensive, solid thunk. They drove for 20 minutes. Out of her neighborhood. Through downtown. Into a part of the city she'd only seen in magazines. Tree-lined streets. Historic buildings. Money. Marco turned into a gated driveway. The gates opened automatically. They drove up a curved path to a beautiful brownstone townhouse. 3 stories. Ivy climbing the brick. Black iron railings. This is where you'll stay, Marco said. His first words of the morning. Lena stepped out. I'm staying here. Alone. You'll have a roommate. Sophia. She works for Mr. Moretti too. She'll explain the rules. He handed her a key and drove off before she could ask questions. Lena climbed the front steps. Unlocked the door. Inside was even more intimidating. Marble floors. Crystal chandelier. Furniture that looked like it belonged in a museum. You must be Lena. She spun around. A woman stood at the top of the staircase. Mid-30s. Dark hair pulled into a sleek ponytail. Expensive clothes. But her eyes were kind. Tired, but kind. I'm Sophia. She came down the stairs. I've been with Dante for 3 years. Don't look so terrified. It gets easier. Does it? Sophia smiled sadly. No, but you learn to survive. She showed Lena to a bedroom on the second floor. It was bigger than Lena's entire apartment. King-sized bed. Attached bathroom. A view of a private garden. "This is mine?" Lena asked. "For the next 6 months." Sophia leaned against the doorframe. "Let me guess. You did something to piss him off. Now you're working off the debt." "I spilled coffee on him." Sophia laughed. Actually laughed. "Coffee? Jesus. He really is bored." "What do you mean?" Sophia's smile faded. "Dante collects people. Usually people who've wronged him. Sometimes people who interest him. You figure out which one you are fast." "What do you do for him?" "I manage his legitimate businesses. Restaurants. Real estate paperwork. The stuff that needs to look clean." She paused. "What about you? What did he hire you for?" "He didn't say." Sophia's expression darkened. "Then you're the interesting kind. That's worse." Before Lena could respond, Sophia's phone buzzed. She checked it. Her face went pale. "He wants you. Now." "What? Where?" "His office. Downtown. Marco's already waiting outside." Sophia grabbed Lena's arm. "Listen to me. Whatever he asks you to do, just do it. Don't argue. Don't question. And for God's sake, don't cry. He hates crying." Lena's heart raced. "What's he going to?" "I don't know. But with Dante, it's never what you expect." 10 minutes later, Lena was back in Marco's car, speeding toward downtown. She stared at her reflection in the window. 24 hours ago, she was a waitress. Anonymous. Invisible. Now she belonged to a man who could ruin her life with a phone call. The car stopped in front of a sleek glass building. Marco opened her door. 20th floor. "He's expecting you." Lena stepped out onto the sidewalk. Above her, the building stretched into the sky like a monument to power. And somewhere up there, Dante Moretti was waiting. For what? She was about to find out. The elevator ride to the 20th floor felt like descending into hell in reverse. Lena watched the numbers climb. Her reflection stared back at her from the polished steel doors, pale, scared, small. She barely recognized herself. The doors opened with a soft chime. The entire floor was open concept. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Minimalist furniture. Everything black, white, and chrome. A dozen people worked at sleek desks, typing, talking quietly into headsets. They didn't look up when she stepped out. A woman in a sharp grey suit approached immediately. "Miss Martinez. This way." She led Lena through the office space to a corner room. Double doors. Frosted glass. The woman knocked twice, then opened the door without waiting for a response. "Mr. Moretti. Miss Martinez is here." "Send her in." The woman stepped aside. Lena entered. Dante sat behind a massive desk, reviewing documents. He didn't look up. The door closed behind her with a quiet click. "Sit," he said. There was a chair across from his desk. Lena Saturday. He continued reading for another 30 seconds. Deliberate. A power play. Finally, he set the papers down and looked at her. "How was your first night?" "Fine." "Sophia treating you well?" "Yes." "Good." He stood, walked to the windows. "I'm going to be direct with you, Lena. I don't waste time. I don't play games. So I need you to understand something right now." He turned to face her. "I own you for the next 6 months. Your time. Your loyalty. Your silence. In return, you get safety. Security. A life most people in this city would kill for. But the moment you betray that trust, the deal is void. Understood?" "Yes." "I don't think you do." He walked closer. "So let me make it clearer. I'm going to give you a task. Something simple. If you complete it, we move forward. If you refuse, or if you fail, you're out. And everything that comes with being out, your mother's safety, your debts, your freedom, all of it disappears." Lena's throat tightened. "What kind of task?" Dante pulled an envelope from his jacket, placed it on the desk in front of her. Inside is a name, an address, and a USB drive. He sat on the edge of his desk, arms crossed. You're going to deliver that USB drive to the person at that address. Hand it to them directly. No one else. Then you're going to leave. That's it. She stared at the envelope. What's on the drive? That's not your concern. If I'm delivering it, it is my concern. His jaw tightened. You're delivering a package. Nothing illegal. Nothing dangerous. Just a simple exchange. Then why do you need me? Why not Marco? Or anyone else? Dante leaned forward. Because the person you're delivering it to is cautious. Paranoid. He doesn't trust my people. But a nervous waitress? Someone who clearly doesn't belong in this world? You're non-threatening. Believable. So I'm bait. You're a courier. He pushed the envelope closer. This is your job, Lena. The job you signed a contract for. Now, are you going to do it, or do we end this arrangement right now? She wanted to say no, to walk out, to run, but she thought of her mother, of Rosa's small house on Maple Street, of the yellow mailbox Dante had so casually mentioned. She picked up the envelope. When? Today, 3 p.m. The address is inside. Dante stood. Marco will drive you. He'll wait outside. You go in alone. Hand over the drive. Come back. Simple. And if something goes wrong? Nothing will go wrong. But if it does, then you handle it. His voice was cold. Final. You're resourceful, Lena. You've survived this long in a city that chews people up. I'm betting you'll survive this too. He walked back to his desk, sat down, picked up his papers. Marco's waiting in the lobby. Don't be late. She was dismissed. At 2:45 p.m., Marco pulled up to a warehouse district on the edge of the city. Abandoned factories. Rusted chain-link fences. Broken windows. You sure this is right? Lena asked, staring at the address on the paper. Marco didn't answer, just pointed to a building across the street. 3rd floor. Unit 3C. Knock twice. Say Dante sent me. Hand over the drive. Leave. What if no one answers? Someone will answer. Marco. You've got 20 minutes. He checked his watch. I'll be here. Lena got out of the car. The USB drive felt like a bomb in her pocket. She crossed the street, pushed through the rusted door. The stairwell smelled like piss and mildew. Her footsteps echoed. 3rd floor. Unit 3C. She knocked twice. Silence. She knocked again. The door opened a crack. A man's face appeared. 40s. Scarred. Suspicious eyes. Yeah. Dante sent me. The man stuttered her, then opened the door wider. You're not what I expected. I get that a lot. She pulled out the USB drive. I'm supposed to give this to you. He took it, turned it over in his hands, then looked back at her. You know what's on this? No. Good. Keep it that way. He started to close the door. Wait, Lena said. That's it. The man paused. Something flickered in his eyes. Pity, maybe. Yeah, sweetheart. That's it. Now get out of here. And do yourself a favor. Whatever Dante's got you doing, walk away. Men like him don't let go. The door closed. Lena stood in the hallway, heart pounding. She'd done it. Simple. Easy. Just like Dante said. So why did she feel like she'd just stepped into something much darker? She walked back down the stairs, out into the fading afternoon light. Marco was waiting. She got in the car. Done. Done. He started the engine. They drove in silence. Lena stared out the window, watching the city blur past. The warehouse district faded. Familiar streets returned. But something nagged at her. Something the scarred man had said. Whatever Dante's got you doing, walk away. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered. Hello. Good work, Lena. Dante's voice. Smooth. Satisfied. Marco's bringing you back to the office. We have something to celebrate. Celebrate what? You passed your test. A pause. And now the real work begins. The line went dead. Lena lowered the phone slowly. The real work. Those 3 words settled into her chest like ice. She'd just been playing checkers. But Dante Moretti was playing chess. And she'd just moved exactly where he wanted her. When Lena arrived back at Dante's office, the sun was setting. The 20th floor glowed orange and gold, shadows stretching long across the polished floors. Dante was waiting in his office. But he wasn't alone. 2 men stood near the windows. One was older, silver hair, expensive watch, the kind of face that had seen too much. The other was younger, lean and hungry-looking, with cold eyes that tracked Lena the moment she entered. "Gentlemen," Dante said, "this is Lena, the one I told you about." The older man stuttered her. "She doesn't look like much." "She doesn't need to look like much. She needs to be forgettable." Dante gestured for Lena to sit. She didn't. "Lena, meet Vincent Calabrese and his associate, Tommy. Vincent controls the port. Everything that comes into the city by water goes through him." Vincent nodded slightly. "Dante says you're reliable." "I delivered a package," Lena said carefully. "That's all." "And you didn't ask questions," Dante added. "That's what makes you valuable." The word valuable made her skin crawl. Vincent exchanged a look with Tommy, then turned back to Dante. "We'll be in touch." He headed for the door, Tommy following. "Nice to meet you, Miss Martinez. I'm sure we'll be seeing more of each other." They left. Lena waited until the door closed. What was that about? Business. Dante poured himself a drink from a crystal decanter. "Vincent needed to see you. To confirm you're who I said you are." "And who did you say I was?" "Someone clean. Someone the cops won't look twice at. Someone who can move through the city without raising flags." He took a sip. "Do you know what you delivered today?" "You said I didn't need to know." "I said it wasn't your concern. That's different." He set down his glass. That USB drive contained encrypted financial records, evidence of shipments coming through Vincent's port, shipments that certain people, federal people, would be very interested in. Lena's stomach dropped. "You had me deliver evidence? To who?" "To someone who needed leverage. That man you met? He works for a rival organization. They've been trying to muscle in on Vincent's territory for months. Now they have proof of what Vincent's moving. Which means Vincent has to play nice. Which means I maintain balance. You used me to start a war. I used you to prevent one." Dante stepped closer. "This city runs on information, Lena. Power isn't about who has the most guns or the most money. It's about who knows what. And who can prove it." She backed toward the door. "I want out." "We have a contract." "I don't care. I'm not doing this. I'm not." "Your mother went grocery shopping this morning," Dante said calmly. "Bought tomatoes, bread, and chicken. She talked to her neighbor, Mrs. Chen, about the weather. Then she came home and watched her TV show, the one about the bakers." Lena froze. "You had someone following her." "I have someone protecting her. There's a difference." His voice was gentle, almost kind, which made it worse. "Lena, I told you. You're valuable. That means people will try to use you against me, which means I need to make sure everyone you care about is safe. It's not a threat. It's insurance. It's a leash. Call it what you want." She felt tears burning behind her eyes. Sophia's warning echoed in her head. "Don't cry. He hates crying." She swallowed hard. "What do you want from me?" "I want you to keep doing exactly what you did today. Small jobs. Simple deliveries. Messages. Pickups. Things that keep you under the radar." He walked back to his desk. "In 6 months, you walk away. Clean. Free. Your debt's paid. Your mother safe. All you have to do is not ask questions." "And if I say no?" Dante opened a drawer, pulled out a folder, slid it across the desk. "Open it." She didn't want to, but her hands moved anyway. Inside were photos. Her mother at the grocery store, at church, at home, timestamps, locations, a log of every move Rosa had made in the last 24 hours. Lena's hand shook. "You're a monster," she whispered. "I'm a businessman," Dante corrected. "And you're an asset. Assets don't get emotional. They don't make demands. They do their job." She slammed the folder shut. "For 6 months." "For 6 months," he agreed. "And then I'm done. You delete all of this. You leave my mother alone. You forget I exist. You have my word." "Your word doesn't mean anything." Dante's expression hardened. "My word is the only thing in this world that means everything. I've built an empire on it. So when I say 6 months, I mean 6 months. But if you break our agreement, if you talk, if you run, then all bets are off." Lena stared at him, at this man who had turned her life into a cage. "I hate you," she said quietly. "You don't know me well enough to hate me yet." He sat down. "Marco will take you back to the townhouse. Get some rest. Tomorrow, we have another delivery." She turned to leave. "Lena." She stopped. Didn't turn around. "You did well today. Keep it up, and this will be easier than you think." She walked out without responding. Back at the townhouse, Sophia was waiting in the kitchen with a bottle of wine and 2 glasses. "You look like hell," Sophia said. Lena collapsed into a chair. "He had me deliver evidence to a rival gang." Sophia poured wine, pushed a glass toward her. "First rule, you're not delivering evidence. You're delivering packages. You don't know what's inside. You're just the messenger." "That's a lie." "It's survival." Sophia took a long drink. "I told you. Dante collects people. You're not the first. You won't be the last. How do you live like this?" "One day at a time. And I remember why I'm here." "Why are you here?" Sophia's eyes darkened. "I stole from him. A lot. Enough to disappear. He caught me. Gave me a choice. Work for him or disappear permanently. I chose work. For 3 years. 3 years so far." She refilled her glass. "The thing about Dante is, he doesn't lie. If he says 6 months, he means it. But he also doesn't forget. So when you're done, you leave this city. You start over somewhere he'll never find you. Because even after you're free, you'll always know too much." Lena's chest tightened. "So I'm trapped either way." "You were trapped the moment you walked into that diner with a full tray." They sat in silence. The wine tasted bitter. Lena thought about her mother, about the photos in that folder, about the scarred man's warning. Walk away. But it was too late for that. She was already in. And the only way out was through. 3 weeks passed in a blur of deliveries, pickups, and uncomfortable silences. Lena learned the rhythm quickly. Dante would call. She would go. Sometimes it was documents. Sometimes cash in unmarked envelopes. Once, it was a key to a storage unit she never saw inside of. She stopped asking questions. Stopped fighting. Sophia was right. Survival meant keeping your head down. But something was changing. Lena felt it in the way Dante's men looked at her now, not with suspicion, but with recognition. She was becoming part of the machinery, another cog in the empire. And she hated how normal it was starting to feel. It was a Thursday night when everything shifted. Lena was in the townhouse, reading, when her phone buzzed. "Tomorrow, 9 a.m. Wear something nice. D. Something nice." That was new. She showed the text to Sophia. "He's taking you somewhere public," Sophia said. "Probably a meeting. He wants you to look the part." "What part?" "Someone who belongs." The next morning, Lena put on the only professional outfit she owned, a navy blazer and slacks Sophia had lent her. She pulled her hair back. Minimal makeup. When she looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. Marco picked her up at 8:45. But instead of heading downtown, they drove to the financial district. Old money. Historic buildings. Power. They stopped in front of an upscale steakhouse, the kind with a dress code and a wine list thicker than a phone book. "Inside," Marco said. "Table 12. He's waiting." Lena walked in. The hostess smiled like she'd been expecting her. "Miss Martinez. Right this way." Dante sat at a corner table. 3-piece suit. No tie. He looked relaxed. Almost human. "You're early," he said. "I like that." She sat across from him. "What is this?" "Breakfast. Have you eaten?" "I'm not hungry." "You will be." He gestured to a waiter, who appeared instantly. "The usual for me. And she'll have the Eggs Benedict." The waiter left. "I don't like Eggs Benedict," Lena said. "You've never had theirs." Dante leaned back. "Relax. This isn't a test. Everything with you is a test." He smiled. "Fair point. But today, I just need you to sit here. Look comfortable. And when the man I'm meeting arrives, you don't speak unless spoken to." "Who are we meeting?" "District Attorney Paul Hendricks." Lena's blood went cold. "The DA. You're meeting with a prosecutor." "I'm meeting with an old friend who happens to be a prosecutor. There's a difference." Dante's tone was casual, but his eyes were sharp. "Paul and I go way back. Law school roommates, actually. We chose different paths, but we understand each other." "You're bribing him." "I'm having breakfast with him. What we discuss is between us." "Then why am I here?" "Because Paul gets nervous meeting me alone. Too many cameras. Too many questions. But if I'm having breakfast with a beautiful woman, it looks like a date. Harmless." He tilted his head. "You're my cover, Lena. Nothing more." She wanted to argue, to leave. But the food arrived, and despite herself, she was hungry. 15 minutes later, a man in an expensive suit walked in. Tall, clean-cut, the kind of face you'd see on campaign posters. Paul Hendricks. He smiled when he saw Dante. They shook hands like old friends. "Dante, good to see you." "Paul, you remember I mentioned Lena? She's consulting on some real estate acquisitions for me." Paul turned to her, extended his hand. "Pleasure." Lena shook it. His grip was firm, professional, but his eyes were calculating. "Lena works in property management." Dante continued smoothly. "She's been invaluable." They talked. Small talk at first. Sports. Mutual acquaintances. Then, slowly, the conversation shifted. "I heard about the incident at the port," Paul said quietly. "Federal agents nosing around Vincent's operations." "Unfortunate," Dante replied. "But temporary. Vincent's lawyers are handling it." "He might need more than lawyers if those shipment records surface." "They won't." Paul raised an eyebrow. "You seem confident." "I am." Dante cut into his steak. "The people who had those records? They've decided cooperation is more profitable than exposure." Lena's stomach turned. She knew what that meant. She'd delivered those records. Paul nodded slowly. "Well, that's good news for Vincent. And for everyone who wants to keep business running smoothly." "Exactly." Dante smiled. "Which is why I wanted to touch base. Make sure we are all on the same page moving forward." Paul glanced at Lena, then back at Dante. "We are. But Dante, you know I can't protect you forever. The feds are asking questions. About you. About your connections." "Let them ask. I run legitimate businesses. Restaurants. Real estate. Everything by the book." "On paper, sure. But we both know." "We both know nothing," Dante interrupted gently. "We are just old friends having breakfast." Paul held his gaze for a long moment, then nodded. "Of course." He stood, shook Dante's hand again, nodded politely at Lena. "Good seeing you both." He left. Lena waited until he was gone. "You're blackmailing the district attorney." "I'm maintaining a mutually beneficial relationship." Dante finished his coffee. "Paul keeps certain investigations from getting too aggressive. I make sure campaign donations flow to the right places. Everyone wins. Except the people you're hurting." "Who am I hurting, Lena?" "Vincent runs his port. Paul keeps his office. The city functions. Crime stays organized instead of chaotic. You think it's better when there's no one in control." She didn't answer. Dante leaned forward. "You want to believe I'm a villain." It's easier that way. But this city would eat itself alive without men like me keeping order. I'm not the disease, Lena. I'm the treatment. You're delusional. I'm realistic. He stood, dropped cash on the table. Come on. We have somewhere else to be. Where? You'll see. Marco drove them to a neighborhood Lena knew too well. Her old neighborhood. Her chest tightened as they turned onto Maple Street. Why are we here? She demanded. Dante didn't answer. Marco pulled up in front of her mother's house. Rosa was in the garden, planting flowers. She looked healthy. Happy. She's fine, Dante said quietly. No one's touched her. No one will. As long as you keep your end of the deal. Lena's hands balled into fists. Why are you showing me this? Because I want you to remember what's at stake. He turned to face her. I don't enjoy threatening people, Lena. But I need you to understand, this isn't a game. Your choices have consequences. For you. For her. For everyone. Tears burned her eyes. I hate you. I know. He looked back at Rosa, still planting flowers, unaware they were watching. But hate doesn't change the fact that you need me as much as I need you. He nodded to Marco. The car pulled away. Lena watched her mother disappear in the rearview mirror. And something inside her broke. Not her will. Not her spirit. Her fear. Because fear was what Dante wanted. Fear kept her compliant. Kept her trapped. But sitting in that car, watching her mother fade from view, Lena made a decision. She'd play Dante's game. She'd smile. She'd deliver his packages. She'd be the perfect little asset. But she'd also start watching. Learning. Finding the cracks in his empire. Because 6 months was a long time. And if there was one thing Lena Martinez knew how to do, it was survive. 2 months into the contract, Lena had become a ghost. She moved through Dante's world like she belonged there. Deliveries. Meetings. Silent observations. She learned the names of his associates. The rhythms of his businesses. The patterns of his control. And she started keeping notes. Nothing obvious. Just small details in a journal she kept hidden under her mattress. Who met with who? What time shipments arrived? Which cops showed up at which restaurants? Which prosecutors looked the other way? Sophia noticed the change. You're different, she said one evening over dinner. How so? Quieter. But not scared quiet. Calculating quiet. Sophia stuttered her. Be careful, Lena. Whatever you're thinking, don't. I'm not thinking anything. Liar. Sophia set down her fork. I've seen it before. People who think they can outsmart Dante. They all end up the same way. And how's that? Sophia didn't answer. She didn't have to. The call came on a Tuesday night. Lena was reading when her phone buzzed. Dante. I need you. Now. Marco's outside. She grabbed her jacket and went downstairs. Marco's face was grim. What's wrong? She asked. Just get in. They drove fast. Too fast. Through downtown. Past the warehouses. To an industrial area Lena had never seen before. They stopped outside a decrepit building. Broken windows. Graffiti-covered walls. The kind of place people disappeared into. Inside, Marco said. 2nd floor. He's waiting. Lena's heart pounded. What's happening? Just go. She pushed through the rusted door. The stairwell was dark. She climbed slowly, her footsteps echoing. 2nd floor. A single door, slightly ajar. Light spilling through the crack. She pushed it open. The room was large. Empty except for 3 chairs in the center. Dante stood near the window. Vincent Calabrese sat in one of the chairs, smoking. And in the 3rd chair, a man. Blooded. Beaten. Tied up. Lena stopped. What is this? Dante turned. Come in. Close the door. She didn't move. Close the door, Lena. She did. Her hand shook. Do you know who this is? Dante gestured to the beaten man. She shook her head. His name is Marcus Webb. He worked, for me. Handled logistics at one of Vincent's warehouses. Dante walked closer to Marcus. 3 days ago, a shipment went missing. 40 kilos. Street value, about 2 million. Marcus says he doesn't know anything about it. Marcus's head hung forward. Blood dripped from his mouth. But we know he's lying, Vincent added, stubbing out his cigarette, because the cameras show him loading those crates into his truck. Lena's stomach churned. Why am I here? Because I want you to see what happens when someone betrays me. Dante's voice was cold, clinical. Marcus thought he was smart, thought he could steal from us and disappear. But there's no disappearing in this city. Not from me. Marcus lifted his head. One eye was swollen shut. I have a daughter, he croaked. She's 8. Please. You should have thought about her before you stole from me. Dante pulled a gun from his jacket. Lena's breath caught. No. Dante, don't. This is the business, Lena. This is what happens when people think they can take what's mine. He chambered around. You wanted to know what I do. This is what I do. I protect what's mine. I eliminate threats. I make examples. He has a daughter. And now she'll grow up knowing her father was a thief and a liar. Dante raised the gun. Wait. Lena stepped forward. You don't have to do this. You can. You can make him work off the debt. You can. I can't show weakness. Dante's eyes were ice. If I let Marcus walk out of here, every person who works for me will think they can steal. And then I have nothing. Marcus was crying now. Please. I'll give it back. All of it. Just let me see my daughter. Please. Dante aimed. No. Lena lunged forward. The gun went off. But not at Marcus. Dante had fired into the ceiling. The sound echoed like thunder. Marcus screamed. Vincent laughed. Lena stood frozen, ears ringing. Dante lowered the gun. Walked to Marcus. Crouched down so they were eye level. You're going to work for me for the next 5 years. Every penny you make goes toward paying back what you stole. You don't see your daughter except through supervised visits. You don't leave this city. You breathe wrong, and next time, I won't miss. He stood. Get him out of here. Vincent's men appeared from the shadows. Cut Marcus loose. Dragged him out. Lena couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Dante turned to her. Are you okay? Okay. Her voice was shaking. Furious. You made me watch. I made you understand. He holstered the gun. This is who I am, Lena. This is the world you're in. And if you're going to survive the next 4 months, you need to stop pretending you're not part of it. I'll never be part of this. You already are. He stepped closer. The moment you delivered that USB drive. The moment you sat across from Paul Hendricks and smiled. You're complicit. You're one of us. No. Yes. His voice was quiet. Certain. You can hate me. You can hate yourself. But you can't change what you've done. And you can't undo what you've seen. Tears streamed down her face. I'm not like you. Not yet. He walked toward the door. But give it time. He left. Vincent stood. Lit another cigarette. He likes you, you know. That's why he didn't make you pull the trigger. He headed for the door. Consider yourself lucky. He left too. Lena stood alone in that empty room. The smell of gunpowder hung in the air. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She'd been naive, thinking she could survive this by keeping her head down, by playing along. Dante wasn't just showing her his world. He was pulling her into it, piece by piece, until she couldn't tell where he ended and she began. She didn't go back to the townhouse that night. Marco drove her, but she told him to drop her off 3 blocks away. She walked, aimlessly, through the dark streets, past closed shops and empty sidewalks. Her phone buzzed. Sophia, where are you? Are you okay? She didn't answer. She walked until her feet hurt, until the anger burned itself into something colder, harder. She'd been wrong about something. She thought survival meant endurance, lasting 6 months, getting out. But survival in Dante Moretti's world meant something else. It meant becoming someone who could fight back. And as Lena stood on a dark corner, watching the city lights flicker in the distance, she realized something terrifying. She didn't just want to survive anymore. She wanted to destroy him. Lena didn't sleep that night. She sat in her room at the townhouse, staring at the journal hidden under her mattress. 2 months of notes. Names. Dates. Patterns. Information. For weeks, she'd been collecting it without knowing why. Self-preservation. Maybe. Insurance. But now she knew exactly what it was. Ammunition. The question was, what to do with it? Dante had built his empire on secrets, on knowing more than everyone else, on controlling the flow of information like a conductor controls an orchestra. But every empire had cracks, and Lena had been watching him long enough to see where his was. Paul Hendricks, the district attorney who took Dante's money and looked the other way. If someone could prove that connection, really prove it, it would bring down more than just Dante. It would collapse the entire web. But going to the authorities meant risking everything. Her mother, herself, and even if she survived, there was no guarantee anyone would believe her. She needed leverage. Real leverage. Something that would force Dante to let her go without retaliation. And she needed it fast. The next morning, Sophia found her in the kitchen. "You look like hell," Sophia said. Again. It was becoming a pattern. "I need your help." Sophia froze, coffee cup halfway to her lips. "No. You don't even know what I'm going to ask." "I know that look. That's the look people get right before they do something stupid that gets them killed." Sophia set down her cup. "Whatever you're planning, stop." "I can't." "Yes, you can. You have 4 months left. 4 months and you're free. Don't throw that away." Lena leaned forward. "He had me watch him almost execute a man last night. He wanted me to see it. To understand that I'm trapped. That I'm part of this whether I like it or not. So I'm done being trapped." Sophia's expression hardened. "You think you're the first person to feel that way? You think I didn't try to find a way out? I spent my first year looking for leverage. Looking for angles. You know what I found." "What?" "Nothing. Because Dante doesn't leave loose ends. He's too smart. Too careful. The only way out is through. And through means keeping your head down and surviving. That's not living. That's existing. Existing is better than dead." Sophia stood. "I'm telling you this because I actually like you, Lena. Don't do whatever you're thinking of doing. It won't work. And it'll get you killed." She left. Lena sat alone in the kitchen. Sophia was probably right. But Lena couldn't spend 4 more months watching. Waiting. Becoming more complicit with every delivery. Every meeting. Every silent nod. She thought about Marcus Webb. About his daughter who'd grow up without a father. She thought about her own mother. Planting flowers. Unaware that her daughter had become a criminal. And she thought about Dante. Standing in that empty room with a gun. Showing her exactly who he was. No. 4 months was too long. That afternoon, Lena did something reckless. She called the number on the business card Paul Hendricks had given Dante at breakfast. The one Dante had left on his desk. It rang 3 times. "Hendricks." "Mr. Hendricks, this is Lena Martinez. We met a few weeks ago at—" "I remember." His voice was cautious. "How did you get this number?" "From Dante's office. I need to talk to you. Alone. It's important." Silence. "Miss Martinez, I don't think." "I have information. About Dante. About Vincent Calabrese. About all of it." Her heart pounded. "Meet me. 1 hour. The coffee shop on 5th and Main. If you don't show, I'll find someone else who will." She hung up before he could answer. Paul Hendricks showed up 30 minutes early. Lena saw him through the window, sitting at a corner table, looking nervous. She took a breath. This was it. No turning back. She walked in. Sat down across from him. "You have 5 minutes," he said quietly. "Then I'm gone." "Dante Moretti is blackmailing you," Lena said. "Campaign donations. Looking the other way on investigations. I've seen it. I've been there." Paul's face remained neutral. That's a serious accusation. It's the truth. And I can prove it. How? I've been keeping records. Meetings. Conversations. Dates and times when shipments came through Vincent's port and when federal investigations mysteriously stalled. She leaned forward. I know you're scared of him. I am too. But if we work together. Stop. Paul held up a hand. You don't know what you're doing. I know exactly. No, you don't. He glanced around. Lowered his voice. You think you're the first person to try this? To collect information and play hero? Dante's been operating for 15 years. 15 years. Every prosecutor, every cop, every ambitious reporter who's tried to take him down has either disappeared, been discredited, or learned to look the other way. Because they didn't have what I have. And what do you have? Notes. Observations. Paul shook his head. That's not evidence. That's a death sentence. Then help me make it evidence. You're the DA. You have resources. Power. You can. I can't do anything. Paul stood. And neither can you. Go home, Miss Martinez. Finish your contract. And forget this conversation ever happened. He's going to destroy you eventually. You know that, right? Men like Dante don't keep partners. They keep assets. And when you're no longer useful. I said forget it. Paul dropped a business card on the table, different from the one he'd given Dante. If you really want out, call that number. FBI field office. Agent named Sarah Chen. Tell her everything. She's been building a case for 2 years. He walked out. Lena stared at the card. FBI. That was it. The way out. But it also meant putting her mother in immediate danger. Becoming a federal witness. Living the rest of her life looking over her shoulder. She pocketed the card. When Lena got back to the townhouse, Dante was waiting. He sat in the living room. Calm. Relaxed. A glass of whiskey in his hand. We need to talk, he said. Her blood went cold. About what? Sit down. She did. Dante took a sip. Set down the glass. Paul Hendricks called me 20 minutes ago. Said you reached out to him. Said you're looking for a way out. Lena's world tilted. He works for you. He works for himself. But he knows where his loyalties need to be. Dante leaned forward. Did you really think you could flip a district attorney without me finding out? You've been collecting information. Notes. Observations. Planning something. He tilted his head. I'm disappointed, Lena. I thought we had an understanding. You gave me no choice. I gave you 6 months and safety. That's more than most people get. He stood. Walked to the window. But I understand. You're angry. Scared. You want control. I get it. Then let me go. I can't do that. Why not? You have 100 other people who can do what I do. Why does it have to be me? Dante turned. And for the first time, she saw something different in his eyes. Not anger. Not calculation. Something almost human. Because you remind me of someone, he said quietly. Someone I used to be. Before all this. Before the Empire. Before I learned that kindness is weakness and trust gets you killed. He walked closer. You still think you can save people. Save yourself. Save your mother. You think there's a way out that doesn't involve blood. Isn't there? No. The word was final. There's only survival. And survival means making hard choices. Lena stood. Then I choose to fight. Dante smiled. Sad. Resigned. I know. He pulled out his phone. Made a call. Marco. Bring the car. Lena's heart raced. What are you doing? Giving you what you want. He ended the call. You want out? Fine. Contract's void. You're free. She couldn't breathe. Just like that. Just like that. But understand, the moment you walk out that door, my protection ends. Paul Hendricks won't help you. The FBI won't save you. And every person in this city who knows you work for me will see you as either a threat or an opportunity. What about my mother? She's on her own too. His voice was ice. You wanted freedom, Lena. This is what it costs. Marco appeared at the door. Dante gestured. He'll drive you wherever you want to go. After that, we are done. You don't exist to me, and I don't exist to you. Lena looked at Marco, at the door, at freedom. Then she looked at Dante, and she realized something. He was testing her. One final test, to see if she'd choose herself over her mother, over her principles, over everything she'd fought to protect. No, she said. Dante raised an eyebrow. No. I'll finish the contract. 4 more months. But then we are done. And you keep your word. You let me go. You protect my mother. And you never contact either of us again. Dante studied her for a long moment. Then he smiled. Real. Genuine. See, I knew you were smart. He waved Marco away. 4 months. Then you're free. I promise. He left. Lena stood alone in the living room. She'd won. Maybe. Or maybe she'd just lost in a way she didn't understand yet. But she'd learned something crucial tonight. Dante Moretti wasn't invincible. He was lonely. And loneliness made even the most powerful men weak. And in 4 months, Lena was going to use that weakness to burn his empire to the ground.